Namaskar, and a very warm good evening, and welcome to you all on 17th episode You the Nurse Talk Show. Yes, today we are celebrating our 17th episode. Yes, we call it celebration because every Friday our just a moment, there's some technical. Sincere apology for this issue. Yes, I was there that we are calling it celebration because every Friday we love to come to meet you, to listen our lovely masters and learning difficult topic in simple language through their life philosophy. Yes, it's a time to storytelling with their personal life. So this week, oh, I forgot to say you thanks. Thanks for your lovely feedback, your appreciation, your critics, your feedback, and every day we are improving and getting better out of better. Moreover, sometimes we are in problem, but with your appreciations, with your love, we are solving those problems and we are trying to bring every time a better version of you, the Nurse Talk Show. Today's our concept is problem solving approach. With that note, I request my team to please introduce themselves. Yeah, Geeta.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Geeta Sina. I am an emergency nurse, have 8 years of experience of emergency and 2 years I have worked in nurse informatics system. And emergency is my family. I love my emergency department.
Yeah, Krish.
Hello everyone, I am Chris Thomas. I am a nurse teacher. My subject is psychiatric nursing and my passion is teaching. So I welcome you all to this wonderful show and welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Dalma.
Good evening, everyone. I am Yangchen Dolma. I am a clinical nurse for the past 20 years, and I am passionate about quality of services in the healthcare. Welcome everyone here to this interesting show, and I welcome Ravi sir also. Thank you so much, sir, for being the master today, and welcome everyone. Hope you all will enjoy the session.
Yeah. Rekha. Miss Rekha Anil, I hope, yeah, I request
Yeah.
by the, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Rekha Anil Kumar, having 24 years experience in clinical and teaching. Welcome you all in today's show. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
I'm Sridevi and I'm just next to Mrs. Uma Handa, who is my teacher, only 37 years of experience. And I'm proud of being a nurse and happy to be a nurse. And I wish I had another 37 years to be a nurse. Thank you. Welcome.
You of the show, Uma ma'am. Uma ma'am.
Now, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are. Uma ma'am, you are quite audible.
The youngest of the team.
Yeah.
I say I'm the youngest of the team and 36 years of experience, retired nurse midwife since last 20 years now. I think 20 years. I retired in 2012. No, 8 years, sorry, 8 years. Only 8 years at the age of 77. Well, my passion is every week, the Friday of every week. That is the nurses show, nurse talk show. And I'm very happy to be here and I welcome Mr. Ravi for this show. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. And once again, on the behalf of my whole team, I really wanted to thank each and everyone who is watching our show and our regular viewer. So today we are talking about the problem solving approach. So what is a problem? हर इंसान ने अपनी लाइफ में कभी ना कभी प्रॉब्लम फेस करी होती है, you know. But have you ever thought of what is problem? No, I'm not talking about the content of that problem. I'm just talking about this terminology. What is that? You know, problem. When I started thinking about the problem solving approach, I feel problem is just a gap between the reality and the desire. Sometimes it's happened that we want something, but we couldn't get it. And we cannot accept that reality. So when problem is a gap between reality and desire, then what we need to fill that gap? Yes, we need to fill that gap, the right attitude, the right perception toward that problem. And today we are going to learn this complex topic, that problem solving approach, to one of the wonderful master I come across in my life. I have no words to actually describe his personality, but I know when he talks by his heart, and he's the most passionate clinical nurse I ever come across. He proud to introduce himself as a trauma nurse and with the huge experience. And today he's going to tell us about this whole problem solving approach out of his own life experience. Nobody can actually help you to solve your life problem. But let me tell you, we all can share our life experience, and probably from that, you are going to learn few tips, tricks, how you can start changing your perceptions toward these problems, start changing your attitude to take this problem. With that note, I once again want to welcome and thank you, Mr. T.S. Ravi Kumar, for accepting our invitation, being on the show. And one thing I really wanted to say, he's the person with the vibes and energy. Whenever he is there, you find a huge, powerful aura. And when I was seeing his CV, I never seen such a power-packed two-pager CV in my life. He been to every part of the world to learn trauma and emergency and provide his services. Yes, over to you. And thank you very much once again, sir, being on the show. Now, platform is yours.
Thank you, Rupa ji, and thank you, Uma ma'am. It's been a wonderful evening with all of you. The way Mrs. Rupa introduced me is almost like introducing Bruce Lee for Enter the Dragon. Okay, so people are kind of getting as if I am kind of walk away from the screen. Well, I will, in the course of the talk, I'll try to explain to you, but I really want to appreciate the excellent team, which is backdrop of working behind this nurse talk show. Because recently I had a interesting presentation by someone who said, in any village, you will see 4 or 5 people sitting under the tree and talking. So people usually say these people who sit and talk there, waste their time and things like that. But that speaker was telling, no, it's not like that. These guys who sit under the tree and talk are the idea generators. They create idea, share idea into the village, and the village gets that idea. But people who work in the office, they don't generate any idea. They go 8 hours duty, finish their duty, rush back home, take care of the cooking, finish the thing, run and run and run. But these guys who sit and talk are the idea generators. So I trust the nurse talk show is not yet another talk show where we listen to some talk and record it and then move on. It's not like that. I trust it's a wonderful opportunity where ideas are generated. Because Alvin Toffler says you need to unlearn to relearn. Learning doesn't happen unless you unlearn some of what you have learned. So the topic is very powerful, problem-solving approach. When I took up my thesis on disaster, my wife said, that's the right topic because whenever I look at you, only disaster comes to my mind. Okay, so she says, that's good for you to do on disaster management. So problem solving, inevitably, because I had been in the field of emergency for almost 24 years, it gives me an impact. So what I would be addressing this evening is more theory, no. Conceptual framework, no. Whatever you wanted to speak in terms of your university exam, no. What I'm going to share with you as a disclaimer, I want to tell you is that is more applied clinical practice. Because problem solving, it's open to everywhere. There's a beautiful Persian proverb which says, I can solve all the problems in the world, provided it should be your problem. Your problem I can solve, but my problem I cannot solve because I'm emotionally involved in the problem. So for me to sit here and talk and answer your questions, it's easy from this seat chair, but it's you who are going to handle the problem. So rule number one. So rule number one, the problem solving approach involves the biggest problem is not knowing what is the problem. There was a person who went and asked, I have a lot of problems. 1,000 rupees I have to pay somebody. 2,000 rupees I have to pay somebody. 1,000 rupees I have to pay somebody. 1,000 rupees I have to pay somebody. So much problem. His friend said, no, 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 you have only one problem. You have 5,000 rupees debt and you have to pay to different people. They are different. But you have only one problem, that is you have to solve the money problem. Why are you contemplating onto and looking, you are burning out yourself onto that? So first thing that you need to understand, rule number one, is that I need to understand what is the problem. Now that becomes very important. Now let me put it this way. Given any opportunity, who is going to solve the problem? It's you. You are going to be involved in handling the problem. So the rule number two is developing yourself. Because that's very important, especially in nursing. In nursing, many people look at nursing itself as a problem. Okay. Some people tell me, sir, I love nursing, but I don't like nurses. I said, now, why do you say you don't like nurses? They said, so that's my problem. Because I have trouble with my supervisor. I have trouble with my colleagues. I have trouble with my co-workers, meaning the healthcare professionals. I have problem with the equipments. Don't have the material. They tell me, put the PPE, put the PPE. Where is the PPE? I don't have any PPE. Everything is virtual PPE. Okay, so they say, I have a lot of problems. And there are problems that we really look at and identify and say, what can I do for that? It's not within my limit to handle that. How can I handle a problem which I'm facing with my supervisor? Now remember, in most occasions, we tend to look at it. I looked at it in two ways. One is the perceived problem. And the second, aggregating the problem. What is the perceived problem? In nursing, that's one thing. I have seen, not in nursing, in globally, there are only three set of people. Two set of people, high percentage, 40-40. The midline people are only 20%. Now, what is that 40-40? Excuse me. The 40-40 is this. People who always have self-pity. They always feel, I cannot do that. I am not capable. Don't call me for that. Put me in the corner. I don't want to come in there. This is a group with self-pity. The other group, which is opposite, is self-glory. I can only do that. Why they didn't call me? I am capable of doing that. Now, between these two groups is the sandwiched group of the person who are balanced, who know that's the point I'm trying to drive now, is your second rule, that is know your identity. So I'll be giving few words only. I'll explain with some case presentations or personal. The most important thing that you're going to understand is your identity. I tell my students when they come and tell me, sir, they didn't identify my talent and I am good in this, that and all. I told them very simple, please listen children. It needs talent to identify talent. Okay, all cannot identify talent. The other person should be talented to identify you have got a talent. So if the world is not identifying your talent, that means the world is not talented as you are. What is your problem? So why are you breaking your head onto that? So don't worry, don't burn out onto that. So that is what we call, look at from the perceived problem. Like a man who has given a beautiful plant, seed. Beautiful, lovely fruits will come out of it. After 5-10 years, the guy who came and met the man said, I don't see the tree, where are your seeds? He said, sir, I kept it very carefully. So why you didn't put it? Sir, if I put it, it'd be a good tree. I'll have a lot of fruits, but my neighbor will pluck the fruits. Monkey will come and take the fruits. So because monkey will come and neighbor will come, they are not the same together, by the way. They will come and pluck the trees. I never put the seed. You see, he perceived and never even got a single fruit out of the seed. So look at every one of us. We are dwelling like that. We are saying, oh, if I do that, my mom will say like that. If I throw this idea, I may not be appreciated. So you and we have an identity problem. That is the biggest challenge that we need to look at. What's your perception of yourself is very important rather than looking at what others perceive about you. See, what others perceive about you is your perception. When somebody says, when I was a male nurse, when people call me a nurse, when I introduced myself, I'm a trauma nurse, somebody said, you're a male nurse. I said, it's obvious I am a male. Now, you don't call a male engineer, male doctor, male lawyer, and a male whatever you name it. But when it comes to nursing, you are calling me as a male nurse. And they said, sorry, because it's a predominantly women profession that I would like to call you like that. Cool, no problem. But what's important is your identity. See, you're professionally trained, very equipped. I put it this way, look at when you're a student period or a staff period. If you're seeing 5 patients a day, I'm giving a minimum. And if you're seeing in 300 days, 5 patients a day, that will be 1,500. So 1,500 into 4 years will be around 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. 6,000 patients you have interacted. And if you add 2 more relatives with them, it will be 12,000. That will take into 18,000. In your 4-year student period, you have met 20,000 people in your life. Look at your counterparts, your engineers, your software, hardware, nowhere, whatever you call it. How many people they have met? 50, 100, 200? You are phenomenally exposed to the umpteen number of people in your life that you have such a rich experience. So don't move back and say, look, I am down with it, I'm tired of it, let me step out. I finished my BSc nursing, MSc nursing, I'm going for hospital administration. I'm going for something else. That doesn't make, when I joined GNM. And when I joined the GNM, my passion was for military. I wanted to be in military. And you see, my watch still is a military and my haircut is still military. I'm not changed. My passion has not dropped. Don't drop your passion. Why should you drop that? When I joined nursing, from military to bed making and bath was completely different. I saw a beautiful oration recently by a military general in the graduation for the commandos. He gave that, very powerful. He made one important statement. You know what you do as a military soldier when you get up in the morning? You do your bed. You do a bed making in the morning. You know what he tells? You learn 2 lessons in that. One, from the beginning in the morning, you have learned to do your own life needs. Number 2, in the end of the evening, when you're tired and come out, your bed is ready, which you're prepared for. So you can't take bed making as a lighter one. I'm trained in bed making, but I'm also trained in intubation. I'm trained in catheterization, but I'm also trained in chest tube insertion. Now, if you look at both sides of it, it's a developing an identity. So always look at in developing your identity. Look at your identity. Be happy about what you do. So don't really get worked up saying like, what's the next move I need to go about. So that is the first thing I wanted to tell you in generating and being confident of your own self. That becomes important. Because when I completed, I had my trauma training in the US and UK, and I had my mass casualty management training in Israel. And I was talking to one of my relatives. And when you talk about, the relative was coming and telling me, I told him I'm trained in trauma in US and UK, Oxford, like that. So he asked me, oh, you are the one who put bandage for the patient. I said, after having done airway breathing, circulation, neurological deficit, and immobilization, and 911, he's thinking I'm only putting bandage for my patient. Well, nothing wrong, because that's the image we give to them. You can't blame them. So what we need to look at is my identity. So let me move on to the second phase. What is the second phase I said? One is the problem perceived. Second is the problem aggravated. So sometimes what we do, we aggravate the problem. There are problems you can solve by yourself, most of them actually. But there are minimal which you can't do anything. It's an environmental issue. It is certain things which are associated with your supervisor, who is writing your evaluation, who's writing your, your promotion, who's going to be involved in deciding your pay grade. So you can't at that point say, I attended nurse talk show, so I will now speak my voice onto you. There ends your career. That's your perception. And you say, my God, I can't aggregate it. I don't want to build upon to that. So many times we tend to look at it and get wrong. Let me put it this way. I think we all learn nursing process in our student period. And after having nursing process, when we come into the clinical practice, we don't put that nursing process as it is. We only write the exam and get the best nurse award and gold medal on that. So what happens, I think that's a problem. I have learned evidence-based practice, but in my clinical, I'm not able to apply it. And when I'm telling it to be applied, people are not listening to it. So you will see, let me give you a beautiful dictum to understand that. Every impression when it doesn't have an expression, will take you to depression. Let me repeat again. Every impression, that means value you take in, which it doesn't have an expression, when you're not able to present that value, you go into depression. So sometimes what happens when you are recurrently facing that problem, you become insensitive to the problem. And then you start feeling, no, I can't change. Let me change myself. Because I can't change the world, I can't change the environment. So let me change as the world goes by. So when we do that, what happens? Our problem gets magnified because there's no identity. My self-identity is lost. I don't present myself in an identical fashion. Let me go to the second point. The second point is beautiful. It's a two-word. It's called eligibility and capability. Now, what is eligibility and capability? You have done your +2. You are eligible to do your medicine, your nursing or whatever you wanted. You have done your BSc nursing. You are eligible to do your MSc nursing. You have done your MSc nursing. You are eligible to do PhD. Now, that's your eligibility. What's your capability? Now, having done your BSc, when you work as the clinical nurse, they don't look at your eligibility. Eligibility part is over. You have to prove your capability when you work in the clinical area. That makes the difference. And that is when your image or your identity will change when you reveal your capability. And that becomes very, very important when you talk about capability. Equip yourself, train yourself. What are the biggest, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, forgive me if I'm wrong. If I'm right, you zoom me some 5-star, okay? Most of the thing is that we nurses read only nursing books. We don't read any books outside the scenario. We don't read biographies. We don't read the current trends. I was yesterday listening to a phenomenal talk. I think I will share it with you. It's an excellent talk about a military officer who's talking about I'll just give an example of that. An unorganized community, how efficient they are in the marketing and in the business. He was telling about a person who was telling a roadside pawn, roadside is telling holy time, he tells the holy material, and then Diwali time he tells Diwali material, Christmas time he tells Christmas material. Now in a year, 4 times he changes his marketing. But in the big companies, your marketing change requires 6 years. But a roadside person, he draws 12 rupees out of his tea, he takes 2 rupees profit and 10 rupees, each 1 rupee goes to everybody. The milkman, the vendor, everybody gets 1 rupee, equity. But if you go to a mall and drink a coffee of 100 rupees, only 12 rupees will go to the common thing, the people who work. Remaining 88 rupees or whatever it is goes to the owner. So he shows how an unorganized community is able to be so good in marketing. It's a big one, 30 minutes talk. I don't want to go in detail. But look at us. So we need to look at, we are organized professionals. How many people in the world know that you have studied biochemistry? In fact, you yourself don't know you studied biochemistry. You are wondering how I passed that biochemistry and microbiology. Thank God I finished my BSc nursing is what your perception is. Okay. So you need to really look at and say, look, this is what I have learned. So I use 2 words, show off and projection. Don't show off. Show off is not our duty. Project yourself. It's mandatory. It's not like, look, my CV was put. Now, who gave that CV? I only gave the CV. I said I had 14 pages. I gave only 4 pages. Now, when they say this, I'm thankful to God because this is God's blessing for me. So I'm happy when you say this guy is good, this guy is good. Good. I don't want to show off. I want to project. I'm a trauma nurse. But I'm an emergency nurse. And that's how I wanted to put it across. Same thing goes in our clinical practice. I think it becomes very, very important in clinical practice to stand for what you do. The competence. There's a beautiful verse in the Bible, one of my favorite in the book of Proverbs. It says, when you are diligent in your hand, you will stand before kings. The king will call you when you are diligent in your hand. So you need to be diligent that the king has to call you. The supervisor has to call you. It's not that I go and say, ma'am, you have not given me chance, I am left out, and you sit in the corner and brood. All that will not work. Don't work on self-pity. Don't self-sympathy. No, don't need on. When people come and tell me, so how Fantastic to work in emergency. I tell my staff, don't take all that into your heart. Working in emergency is our duty. That's all. We are 8 hours trained for that. So don't get jubilated to the roof and say, oh my God, I'm excellent. No, next person will come and curse you for not giving proper emergency care. So don't brood yourself. Don't brood, don't superlate. You be on ground level. You know what you are trained for. How many times have you appreciated a fish swimming? You don't appreciate a fish swimming. Why? Because the fish nature is swimming. I'm an emergency nurse. My nature is emergency nurse. I'm a trauma nurse. You're a rheumatology nurse. You're an oncology nurse. You're a child nurse. You're a maternal nurse. Yes, that's your specialty. Be proud of what you are and keep moving forward rather than saying, there is one problem that we have. That is looking at what we can do with what we don't have rather than doing what we can do with what we have. Let me repeat it again. Looking at what we can do with what we don't have, then looking at what I can, without doing what I can do with what I have. You are a tutor, you are looking at lecturer and saying she is not doing properly, I will become like that and do it. When you are a lecturer, you look at a professor and say, professor is not doing properly, I do that. When you are staff nurse, you look at your matron and say, she is not doing, I'll do properly. You do what you have been told. Let me do, I am a trauma nurse. That's it. I don't introduce. I'm a retired professor, but when I travel, people ask me, what are you? I say I'm a trauma nurse. I have a joy in telling I'm a professional trauma nurse, okay, trained in mass casualty management. So that is the main thing. Prove your capability. That becomes, I hope if somebody can prompt the time, it will be good because I start talking, it's a verbal diarrhea. Okay, it will be non-stop excitement for me because I have a passion. And that too, if you're talking trauma and emergency. So somebody at some point can give me a hint, then I can pace out the talk. Now, when you talk about this particular thing, when I say capability, let me give you an example. Many times, whenever a problem comes, when we want to handle the problem, we always look at God. It's good because that's how the wisdom comes. But through whom you are going to solve the problem is yourself. So let me give you my personal experience. I was, after PBBSc, which I did as an open candidate in CMC, I was in the ward giving bath to my patient. And it was a patient who was a company patient from West Bengal, Kolkata. After I gave bath, he said, brother, we like you. You are so good. Why don't you, come and work in our place and we can give you double and triple the salary. I said, fantastic. Thank you, God. Wonderful opportunity you have given me. Then I finished his work. I said, I'll be in touch with you. I'll get your card. I went for the next patient bath. So I had to give one more bath. So I went and gave a bath for the patient. That patient was a very poor patient. And when that poor patient, I finished the bath, everything, he literally was in tears. He said, sir, brother, very nice of you. Stay back here, sir. Now I got confused. You have one rich patient who tells, come to Kolkata, that I'll pay you well. And here is one patient, poor patient, who's telling me, sir, stay back. So I looked at God and I said, Lord, what do I do now? Same day you are giving me two opportunities. God gave the best answer and God always gives this best answer. You know what was God's answer? He smiled at me. God smiled at me and said, you take the decision. Now I will not push you into that. That's the beauty of God. So I had to make a choice. There was a choice in front of me to take a decision to stay back or move to West Bengal. Now I stayed back. Okay, I thank God and stayed back. Now when I look back of this 34, whatever number of years, it's not because of I stayed back I grew in this. It's because the passion that you need to have in what you do. And that is why it becomes very important when you talk about the capability. So when you talk about a problem, especially a problem that within your limits that you can do, I know things are different. You cannot look at one problem same as everywhere globally. Things are very different. What you see in Canada is different from what you see in Punjab is different from what you see in Vellore is different from what you see in a government hospital is different from what you see in a corporate to a mission. The work environment will not be the same everywhere, but you can be the same everywhere. Please remember that as the most crucial. I had traveled many parts of the world, but every part of the world, I was Samuel. That didn't influence me. America didn't influence me. China didn't influence me. Now, I only looked at how best can we influence them. So it is something that we need to carry within yourself, that how I need to look at and approach it. Because many times, you will have the struggle in the clinical area. Clinical area is a challenging area, unlike a teaching, with due respect for the academicians who may be listening. But clinical is much more difficult, especially if you are in an area where people don't understand. Many times we feel hurt, not because of people who didn't understand you, because of the friend whom you thought will understand you never understood. Because the people whom you thought will support you never supported. Because of that, you feel very hurt many times. Day one, when you joined nursing, day one, when you went into the clinical area, what happened? You went into the room and cried. You went into the toilet and cried. You don't want others to see. What happens now? After 4 years of your graduation and after 5 years of your service, it has no impact on us. We become emotionally numb. We become insensitive. In stress management, we call that stress inoculation and stress immunization. You get inoculated on the first level when you face a stress. But over and over when you face it, you become immunized to that. And that's what is happening when you face a problem again and again and again. And you start thinking, I'll cope with that. I'll keep going in the same way. I don't think anything can be done. Don't be like that. You can make a difference. I'm not giving a pep talk. I'm not giving a motivational talk. I'm giving a talk based on real life experiences. It was not an easy walk. It had its own difficulty. When I was a male nurse, again, I myself am male nurse. Okay. When I was a nurse in the ward, surgical ward, our uniform was white and white. And the housekeeping attendant's uniform was white and white. So when doctors come, patient has not gone for X-ray, they say, where is the attendant? We don't have attendants gone out. Then they look at us standing in white and white. Send them. There are so many attendants standing there. So we felt so hurt. Our professionalism, we are professional, but the uniform made a lot of difference for people to mock at us or people to make fun of us. So it gives an impact on to each and when we work in the clinical. It is not a cakewalk that you do that, but it becomes very important. And the third thing that I wanted to share in problem solving is a relationship. I think that's the third and the most important that I wanted you to understand. Relationships are very important. Be it with the patient, relative, or your team, it's very important because relationship can reduce a lot of your perceived problems and aggravating problems. Okay, because that will make a lot of difference. You see, 90% of our problem is connected with relationship. You look back in your family, what's the problem? It's because of relationship. Your spouse is upset with you. He's angry with you. He shouts at you. Why is he doing that? Because he had a problem in the office. It's not that he's coming home to shout at you. You are upset and you are also shouting at him. Why? Because you had a problem in the clinical area. You couldn't shout to your supervisor, to your matron, or to your doctor or the team member. It's all kept inside. Okay, it's all kept deep. I come back home and then literally you go on and I'll give you an exercise. You do it, but don't tell me the answer. It's a very interesting exercise. If you're at home or if you're elsewhere, call your spouse. Okay, and ask your spouse to describe you in one word. Describe you in one word. Now he will find it difficult. Like if you're a woman, man will find it difficult to describe you in one word. And when you think about your husband, can you describe in one word? Think about it. I'll tell you why. A study was done in which it was told to a lady to go home, ask one word about you. The lady went home and asked this child, a little kid, describe mama in one word. The child said, irritable. She was taken aback. She said, I love you so much. How much I do for you, but is that the only word comes in your mind? Child said, Mama, I like you. You ask me one word, because if you ask me to describe you, I'll say you are the most adorable person in the world. You are my love, you are my everything. You are my everything. But when I look at you, I always look at this particular word, irritable. You are always irritable. You come and throw things. You are telling me do this. If I sit down, don't sit down. If I stand up, don't stand down. Don't go there, sit down here. And Appa, you are telling this one and sit there and all that. I see you persistently. Now, did you get a word for your spouse? Think about it. Okay?
I think it's a high time that I should interrupt you, though I am actually enjoying listening you. And it was actually spellbound. So I'm so sorry. Because we are having a lined up so many questions, and I really want, so first of all, thank you very much. It was actually mesmerizing, not talk show. I would say it's a more of TED talk that what you are saying. So, sir, I hope if you want to say anything, so
No,
next.
in the answers, I will correct.
Yeah. That's why I really wanted to. So there's a one question: how to do problem solving? How we can use problem solving approach in our clinical practice? The most of the part you are already covered in your talk, but if you want to give tips to the youngsters because they found how they can do that.
Is it a problem for yourself, or is it a problem with the patient, or is it the problem with the doctor? Now, where is the problem? That's why in the beginning I said, identify your problem. Let me put it, I'll give you a case scenario. There is a patient who is very sick. And so let me put it this way. A patient who has come with a let me say DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. And the patient has come and the doctor has written an order of 5% dextrose. Now, you don't give a 5% dextrose for a DKA, you have to give a normal saline. Now, when you say that to the person concerned, he says, you are a nurse. You don't ask that. What I write, you give it. Now you are in trouble because the patient will go into further decay, patient will collapse. Now you have a trouble. You will have to go to matron. Matron is not accessible and the IV fluids to be connected. So you are in a fix. This is a clinical problem. Now what is the clinical problem? Who has to be saved? You? No. Doctor? No. Patient. So you need to talk to the doctor. Look, this is how it is. Worst case scenario, I'm not doing it on this ground. That is not a problem. We have done that. That's why our nurses have done that. People have come and complained to me. Your nurses are very aggressive. They came and told me. I said, no. My nurses are not aggressive. They are assertive. In English, there are many words, doctor. You need to understand that. Okay. So it is like you need to have a backup. Okay. But forget the backup. But the whole thing is that it is very important for us to really look at and the clinical problem. If it's with that, that's one side. Look at the other side. Somebody spoke ill of you, you nurse. Now that you are offended professionally, how can you call you? It's only a word, you nurse. It's the expression. You can always say you nurse. You can always say you nurse, or you can always say you nurse. Now, when you take it up and say he spoke like that, and then you make a big hue of it, and there's kind of an inquiry, and the person says, oh, I never said you nurse. I said you nurse. The whole tone he changed, and you are taken aback and said, my God, this guy just now said you nurse, and now he's saying you nurse. Now, whole thing you feel, oh my God, I think I will ask for voluntary retirement. Is there a VRS scheme in this hospital? Well, that's how you look at it. So clinical problems are not an question answer session. It's developing your personality. It's approaching yourself.
So we have to move on to the next question also. I'm sorry, it would be a rapid question round otherwise.
Yes.
How to approach complex problem in clinical area? We are facing lots of problem related to bedside processes, patients problem, nursing administration, material equipment, etc.
Okay, see, this is a teamwork. This cannot be solved by an individual. You will have to have a good team. When I say team, it not necessarily has to be the supervisor, because sometimes you have a very good supervisor who will back you up and speak for you, and the things will be done in proper manner. But it may not happen on all occasions. There are occasions when supervisor may not support you, but that is where team approach is important. So when I say team approach, please remember two words I'll teach you. One is being diplomatic. The other one is being perceived as arrogant or perceived to be rebellious. So many times when we present our issues, it's not the issue being presented, but how you present the issue. Sometimes we take it out of hand and say, no, this is like this. This is how it's like road roko kind of a stuff we take it. They are very uncomfortable. They brand us. They say, okay, this group, dangerous. So when you come with a genuine problem issue, they'll say, no, don't bring the person inside my office because I perceive that person will create some problem. So you can't even put it across. That's why a teamwork. When I say team, I'm not talking about what you call a union or anything like that. It's a comradeship. It's a fellowship. I told you in the beginning, relationship, work together.
Yeah.
It's not an answer. Like, for example, you don't have equipment. I know I went to an hospital for an examiner. The patient was a rheumatoid, RH fever. Okay, and the
Rheumatic
patient
arthritis.
was, yeah. Oh, I forgot the rheumatology nurse is there, so I shall be careful. I speak only trauma language. Okay, there was a patient who was breathing difficulty. Okay, let me keep it that way. Breathing difficulty. The patient is having breathing difficulty. There is a nurse there, and there is an oxygen outlet there. There is an outlet for the oxygen flow meter is there, but they don't have a mask and the tubing. Now you have an oxygen at the head end. Here is a patient breathless. You don't have a tubing and a mask. How can you give the oxygen? I was feeling so uncomfortable looking at a patient with the breathing difficulty, but this is the, so I went to the senior staff and said, ma'am, what is this? I'm examined, I'm not part of them, but I can't, be quiet. I know if I do that, they'll say, next time don't call the CMC people here. They will make you and cry over simple things. It's not a simple thing, not getting oxygen. But at the same time, I want to be considerate because I don't know what is the problem of the supervisor. So I went to the supervisor. She said, sir, supply is not coming. If supply comes, why should I keep it under thing? Supply is not coming. Now, what do I do? Can I go to the supply manager? I've come as an examiner over there. So the point there is that it is a collective. It is becoming very important collective. It's just see, we are the voice of the patient in the clinical area. Always remember that. Do not look at this way. Let me ask a simple question. I know there are many questions waiting. What was your level of honesty from your childhood? Okay, when your level of honesty in your childhood, the more younger you were, the more honest you were. As the age grows up, by virtue of your experience, by virtue of what you see around the world, you slowly become losing your integrity. That way, when I'm 61 plus, my integrity level is comparatively low compared to a young girl who has just taken over and says, I will speak. Go ahead and speak. Nothing will happen.
So our next question is very interesting. How to approach to a team to solve a problem, especially in emergency room at the time of resuscitation and OT?
Verbalize, loud verbalization. The most important thing is don't verbalize inside, don't murmur inside, oh, they're doing like that, oh, what I'll do. Don't do like that, speak loud. Adrenaline, okay, what do you want, sir? Do you want adrenaline or atropine? I want it to be clear. Very important. There's something called closure circle. In resuscitation, we got circle closure. We should learn in family also this closure circle. You know what is that? Doctor says adrenaline. So when you give adrenaline, you verbalize adrenaline given. So the circle closes. When he says adrenaline, when you're given adrenaline, but you have not verbalized, the doctor doesn't know how many adrenaline is given. So circle doesn't close. Family, same problem. Husband says something, you are not saying back to what, you are not closing the circle. And that's why he says, I asked you so many times. So somebody, once the husband was reading a paper and telling the wife, look, men speak 10,000 words per day, women speak 20,000 words per day. Everything twice. So naturally it will be 20,000 only words we have to speak. For that the husband said, no, what is that? Again he's asking her to speak with her. So words are important, verbalize. But again, being diplomatic. It's not being asking like, what you tell me I'll have to do like that.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Yeah, sorry. So our next question is from chat box. Which problem solving approach fit best to nursing teacher while dealing with the nursing student in clinical situation?
It's a topic that I love most because I spend more time with my students. When I have my tutor, the first assignment I give to her is this. A carpenter, when he wants to do a table, what is that he needs to know? About the wood. So when you teach the students, the first thing you need to do is know adolescent age group. Go and read upon adolescent age group. Identity versus role confusion, according to Erik Erikson. You get to know what is their feeling. You cannot understand them. When students come and tell me, sir, you understand us better, I say no. Because I cannot, I'm a male person. I can never understand. My understanding of you is mainly because I have two daughters of your age group. So when I have two daughters of the age group, I can feel a little of what you can go through. So problem solving approach in that is the only word I can say is your availability. How much do the students perceive you're approachable and you're available? So if they feel like I can walk to that man, I can share to that man, which will be confidential, then it is successful. You are doing a problem prevention, not a problem management. The second thing that you need to look at is that how you reach out to them is from their perspective. It's not from our perspective. I had a student, let me put it this way. Exam. You are giving an injection. The student is a practical exam, only one needle, I turned somewhere and turned this side. She loaded the needle and she touched the needle by mistake. She thought I didn't see that. I saw that. Now tell me, if she does the procedure correctly, does she pass or does she fail? If I put a fail, she'll never be honest in future. If I put pass, she will do wrong technique recurrently. What do I do? Okay, don't worry. Transparency. I told her, I saw you touching the needle. She said, sir, I'm sorry, sir. I was tensed because that's the only needle and this is my exam and I have to pass the exam. I said, no, speak. You verbalize. Don't worry about it. Your exam was not only on technology, it is concerned with honesty. I appreciate your honesty. You will pass the exam. But in future, remember that never ever go into that way. Verbalize. I think that becomes very important.
Yeah. So our next question is in clinical and working areas, sometimes it happens that because of the teams, seniors, rule, regulation, restrictions, it's very difficult to approach and handle the problem. How to manage that?
Repeat again, sir.
Yeah. In a clinical areas with the team, under the senior influence, lots of rule, regulation, restriction, it's very difficult to take this approach.
Enjoy the game. When you play a cricket, when you play the football, how do you play it? You think all will come and go, put the ball inside the goal and come back together? And your opponents will all give way for you to come and put the goal? No, it's a game. In a game, you have to run, you have to fight, you have to nudge, you have to push. It goes into that. So remember, who are the so-called seniors? The so-called seniors are the so-called juniors once upon a time. Now, when you say the same thing, in little later while, you are going to be a so-called senior. So when you become a senior, see that you don't do that to your junior. That is the solution for this. Because rules will be there. Let me put it this way. Amartya Sen, my favorite writer, he puts it this way. Needhi and Nyaya. Needhi is institutional justice. Nyaya is personal justice. Now, if you have a hostel, there is a rule of coming inside at 6 p.m. So you come at 6:30 p.m. So the warden punishes you and gives you a memo. Institutional justice, Needhi. But the student who came late by 30 minutes is because she helped somebody who injured on the road. Because of that, she got delayed. She came. Now what happened? She was punished. There was Needhi according to the rule, but there was no Nyaya. So all Needhi don't have Nyaya because there's institutional rules. So what do? The warden talks to the student and says, what's your problem? Why you came late? Ma'am, there was an injured person on the road. I had to help him. Oh my God. Fantastic. Very good. I would appreciate you. Even send a letter so that Dean would appreciate you. So come, it's okay. Don't repeat it. Okay, fine. So there is Nyaya, there is Needhi. So both will go hand in hand. So in all institutional rules, there may not be. Where there is Needhi, may not be Nyaya, including me. So don't tell I'm talking like as if I met both Needhi, Nyaya together. No, I have had rules in emergency department. I have had staff coming late. I have told them, why are we coming late? Okay, this is the problem. Okay. Next time late. Why are you coming late again? This is the problem. So she comes again recurrently. So I have to take action on that. But her problem is genuine. She's missing the bus, cooking in the morning. A lot of troubles are there. But that doesn't mean I can go on, you come whatever you want. We will intubate the patient. No, I cannot do that. So you see, there are sometimes there will be. So when you have rules and put by your seniors and whatever, there are written rules, unwritten. It's a big topic. It's a 1-hour seminar on handling the senior junior in clinical practice. But
so we'll be keeping that as a concept next time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So our next question is, problem solving approach is an art and it will help in both personal, social and professional life. How I learn this art and how to maintain this art, because situation and conditions makes us a problem creating person.
On a lighter note, I'll tell you the easy way is get married. Okay, why I'm telling this, I hope married people will accept what I'm saying. See, we learn in life with experience. See, books teach us a lot. It teaches us theory. But when you put in practice, it is by virtue of experience only it happens. So when you look at the my personality is like that. How can I change my personality? You cannot change your personality. See, I am a naughty person. Do you think I have changed? I still joke. On graduation stage, when I'm sitting on the stage also, I crack joke and my neighbor laughs and says, Ravi, keep quiet. The stage is rocking because you are making joke on the stage. Everybody is watching us. We don't change. Your personalities don't change overnight. So don't expect you to be by listening to a talk show tomorrow. You get back home and everybody hug each other and the world changes. The world will not change. What I need to look at, relook at yourself. That's what I said, identity. Relook at, no self-pity, no self-glory. Don't work up on that. Relook at yourself. Go slow on that. Take time to look at it. You know who's my best teacher? The people who don't like me. They are my best teacher. Whatever they tell about me, I take it into heart and see, okay, is it right or wrong? Somebody comes and tells me I'm an idiot. I react emotionally. I don't react intellectually. You don't say when somebody calls you idiot, you don't tell what are the types of idiocracy. What idiot I am, mild, moderate, or severe. No, you don't go. You get emotionally, you burn out and say, how dare you call me an idiot? Okay. So it happens, in the clinical. So don't, sorry to this, I'm gender oriented. I'm more for women's liberation. In fact, I wanted to tell you a proverb. I forgot the proverb. When I looked at your group, the whole team which is working behind, I remembered an African proverb. It says, I am because we are. I am because we are. There's nothing called I am. I am is only God. I am is only God. Nobody else can say I am. Okay, I am because we are. I am here because we are all together. You are asking question, I am answering. Otherwise what? I'll be back home munching some peanut or cashew nut or something like that. But it's becoming idea sharing. So it becomes very important to relook at ourselves and make the changes that can slowly evolve and make you into a personality.
Yeah.
Look at when you joined first year nursing and fourth year nursing. See the changes. You started, your hairstyle was changed, your dress code was changed, your language was changed. Who made the change? Unknowingly you changed. So please remember, thank you for this question. Please remember the team which you are associated with. The team plays an important role. When you go for coffee break, don't brood on others. Don't tell, I suffered this way, udhar se kitna taklif hai, udhar se taklif hai. Forget all the taklifs. Put the taklif in one taklif bag. Okay, talk something else. Talk about what goes on, what's nice, what's happy. Okay, that's how it should be. Don't always, nurses have this, even in the lift. Everywhere, you talk about. When I stand behind, they'll tell, that supervisor, I had tough time. I said, don't speak like that in a lift. Okay, you speak to the supervisor rather than speaking in the lift. Okay, that's one thing I always used to tell the students. This is the best place for you to learn. Very highly ethical place. It's the student nurses hostel mess. In the student nurses hostel mess, the topic that the student discuss, if they can do it in the open, we would have transformed into a phenomenal society of nurses. That is where they speak about this happened in the ward. I cannot adjust. I cannot digest. How can I do that? When I will grow, I will not become like that. That is what they talk. And study reveals, scientific study reveals that 80% of the topic of the students in the mess and in the steps and the ladder where they sit, the center of topic is the clinical instinct. It's not the patient, it's not the thing. They always talk about, their topic is about either the clinical inspector or the matron or the charge nurse. So if the role model is bad, you become collectively bad. But if you can collectively be good, makes a difference.
A question out of the syllabus. आप कहाँ trained हुए? Classroom या mess? I believe it must be mess.
Pardon, sorry?
I said, where you got all training? Is it classroom or mess? I believe it must be mess.
See, I am a last bencher. Last benchers are the good guys. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
The first bencher, I don't sit because the teacher will speak and spray all saliva on us. Okay. There's a big problem in sitting on the front. So I always sit at the back. It's not the back. You know who taught me all this? Honestly, let me tell you. It's from the students. I learned everything which I'm speaking now is from my students and from staff.
Agree.
Not from the book. It's not from my leaders.
Last question. I'm so sorry. We are running short of time.
Yeah.
In any emergency health concern, carrying out the evidence-based step of defining the problem, deciding the plan of action, get very little time. Professionals are compelled to take risks and implement the plan action to save lives or limbs. Is it unethical?
Thank you. It's a good question. It's an ethical consideration. Now, ethics is learned within our body system. Ethics is not a subject which comes from outside. That's why I always tell my student, make it habit to be good. Don't make being good as your hobby. It has to be habituated. Okay. So in emergency, risk taking is a mandate. You have a patient who comes with a pneumothorax, a tension pneumothorax, and he's got a chest injury. You know where to put the tube, but that place is injured. You can't put the tube over there. You will have to relook at something else. You are going to think at that time. Decision making is in the spur of the moment, and it has to be ethical also. So that is why I give you again, the answer to this question is very simple. It is with the teachers. When teachers you teach with simulation of case studies. Okay, you give them, I give always case study of a 20-year-old man and a 60-year-old man. Whom will you take care at the crucial juncture? They always say 20-year-old man. No, if the 60-year-old is my father, and if I don't tell your father, it's not good to say like that. So I tell it's my father. So I don't look at from that perspective. There are structured ways by it. The second way to overcome is that departmental clinical meeting weekly once. That is very important because you have to throw out your ideas. Sir, the other day we had a problem. We had handled it like that. It was okay. We took a risk. Patient saved. But if such a scenario comes tomorrow, what do we do? There is a consensus decision made by the clinical. Doctor, nurse, paramedic, together to sit weekly once, case audit, like that. It may not happen, then do it with nurses. You can sit and do a case audit. See that you don't repeat because it's the cost of the patient life. And risk taking is always risk. See, it's like this. Do you see opportunity in a danger or do you see a danger in an opportunity? That is all that matters. So many of us see every opportunity as a danger. But we emergency people see opportunity in a danger to save a life so that we can think at that moment. But don't overdo your bit. Don't go out of the box. You are in a clinical area. You have to abide by the standard operating procedure and protocol of the system. So that doesn't mean now nothing is available. I'll put a straw. I saw in one movie they put a straw for Crico. I'll put a straw and all. You can't do in the clinical. You are legally bound onto it. So make your practice a habit, not a hobby.
Amazing. With that note, we are just leaving with 3 minutes. Now it's time for you to giving us take-home lesson.
Very simple. Take-home lesson is that when 1996 I had my trauma nursing training in US and UK. I enjoyed it. I said, oh, fantastic, but we can't practice in India. You have everything. You are insured. You have got money. There's no problem. Okay, you can use your disposable syringe, a sterile one, to stir sugar in the coffee because so much you have plenty. But my people in India, I have struggled in getting a disposable syringe. They cannot even pay for it. I know that. So America, Africa and all, I said, good to learn, can't practice. But at that time, there was a doctor who taught me a beautiful prayer. And that prayer made me a change. So that after I came back, I joined emergency department in 96 as a trauma nurse, started trauma training. By God's grace, early management of trauma course and for nurses. And emergency department CMC was recognized as a training center by WHO for emergency disaster. Then I became the core committee member of Asia Pacific Emergency Disaster Nursing Network. Moved in for Nepal earthquake, Sri Lanka tsunami, Chennai flood, multiple other. How did all this happen? Was it because of a person who had a training? No, it was that prayer. What was the prayer? With that, I will close. It's very simple. Whatever your religion may be, you look at this prayer and it will make a difference when you understand the context and the core of this prayer. The prayer goes like this. Lord, I can't do everything. I can do something. If I can do, I have to do. By God's grace, I will do it. Amen. Lord, I can't do everything. I can do something. If I can do, I have to do. And by God's grace, I will do it. Amen. So the closing is that my favorite proverb is this. Any man can count the number of seeds in an apple. Only God can count the number of apples in a seed. You are a seed in the hand of God. You are not into this profession by your chance or choice. You are to touch human lives in spite of the difficulties that you walk through. Be a seed in the hand of God to be apple to many. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, sir. And I'm highly grateful. Once again, thank you very much from bottom of my and all the participants, live viewer who are, listening your this talk. And I hope you will be enjoying that, the appreciation, encouraging words, and they all were actually enlightened with your experience. And thank you very much for that, sir. With that note, I really wanted to tell one thing. Next time, when you will see a problem, you cannot forget one name, Professor T.S. Ravi. the Nurse Talk Show, and you will see this problem in a different way. One thing which I really wanted to re-emphasize, because he has said so many things, I cannot do that within a fractions of second, but don't attach with problem. Change your perception. Don't take it personally. Sometimes Ariel will always help you to get out of that problem, and that's all comes with the problem solving attitude. So most important, develop that attitude to detach with the problem and fill that gap with the good attitude. With that note, I really wanted to end. Yeah, over to you, sir.
Please remember, don't separate, because I'm not saying you, I'm telling all of us together. Many times we tend to separate it. See, the problem solving starts from home. If you're good at home, problem solving, you'll be good at professional. It is like a chain.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen like, only I'm very good problem solving professionally, I'm very bad at home. It cannot be like that. It's a collective. So that is why I remember, don't compromise work for family and don't compromise family for work. This is very important in problem solving. Many times we compromise work and work and work and forget the family. Oh, we are so concerned about family, we don't concentrate on the work. So don't go about onto that. There are a lot of things, but of course the time factor is there. So
thank you very much, sir. And I really wanted to decode your last words, tapping your potential. You are such a powerful human being. And don't forget that proverb that, only 10%, human being born with lots of potential. But can you imagine, सिर्फ 10% potential हम use कर पाते हैं till the end of our life. So try to tap your potential. That's what sir wanted to say at the end in a take-home message. And with that note, we are ending today's session. We will be there next week. And don't forget to watch our next show, because next time we will be coming up title leaders without title. So I hope you will be enjoying that show also. With that, thanks once again. And thank you very, very, very much, sir, being on the show.
Thank you all for the wonderful opportunity. I really encouraged by the questions. The questions, Now,